Good evening. It is 6:40 p.m. 1840 for the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting, Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. Call to order and the quorum is present. We have alternate Commissioner Neela and place 7. All right, public comments. Non-agenda item public comments, white card. Comments will be taken from the audience on non-agenda related topics for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. Public agenda, or agenda item public comments, yellow card. Comments will be taken from the audience on non-agenda and agenda items combined for a length of time not to exceed 5 minutes total per person on all items, except for public hearings. Comments on public hearing items must be made when the item comes before the board, commission, and committee, and not to exceed 2 minutes per person. No action or discussion may be taken by the commission during public comments on non-agenda items. All right. So we have non-agenda item, public comment. Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you, sir. My name is Robert Bataille. Sorry to hear about Mr. Paez. Wishing him well, despite what I may criticize him on occasion. Yeah, I'm kind of upset slightly that I didn't know about this workshop, because I went to the page and I sent about 300 people the link to your page. This is what I see when I go to your page. You know, I've been talking about this for a year. That's just not very cool. How come you guys didn't go to Juneteenth and have a booth with all this cool stuff you're going and doing for our city? You know, I'll tell you why, because you don't want people to see this. This is horror. This is what they want to do with our little Main Street here, our little beautiful little 1850s Main Street. This is okay in the center of what you guys call the ETJ, halfway to Elgin, north of 290. That's where the new downtown needs to go. This isn't big enough for the parking lot for a performing arts center. So let's get our heads way up. And you know what? I'm sorry I missed that meeting, because a lot of my critique was going to be on you guys trying to become a commission instead of being Scott Dunlap's little committee and rubber stamping everything. Maybe you're going that direction, and I hope you are. I've sent a lot of things. You're supposed to be a quasi-independent force for truth and justice. Okay, we got townhomes being built on top of black people's graves. You're okay with that? You approved the comprehensive plan, and you know it has lies in it. You approved it. In fact, I went to there to do a code violation about our art parking lot over here. And you know what they call Woodlands Park? Shadow Glen open space. It's not open space, it's floodplain, and it has nothing to do with Shadow Glen. It's a City of Manor park. It's a secret park that we've had since 2003. How does a city keep a park 200 acres secret? Plus, you can park anywhere you gosh darn want to if you don't own a home there. They try to pretend we can't park there. The police chief says, "Oh yeah, Robert, they can park anywhere they want." Well, it's a public road, Travis County Sheriff's. He's afraid to put that in writing, and so are you. But don't feel bad, the county commissioner beanbags, they won't do it either. We have a problem here, and I sent a letter, and per the codes, if I send you a letter about a specific thing, you're supposed to review it. That was the way that this art park has been turned into art parking lot. It's been 2 or 3 years since we did a Manor Palooza there. And why is it still, that was a bad thinking too, but that's a neighborhood park, man. You guys need to start going over there and start meeting those people. Some of them are rotting away because there is nothing to do. Do you understand? Nothing. Is that
So
what is
for
it?
the white card, that's the 3 minutes, and then you have
Which white card was that?
the one that you fill out.
Was that Austin Bocce League?
Here it says your name, Robert Bataille. Yeah.
This is the same thing that happened to me
And
last
then-
meeting.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Just letting you know, and then now you have the yellow card for the 3 minutes,
The what?
2 minutes for the yellow card.
What's that got to do with anything?
Just letting you know the time.
Well, who am I speaking as here? I gave you 2 cards. One is the Austin Bocce League, and one is Robert Battle. And you kind of misled me into thinking I was talking as Robert Battle.
I told you the non-agenda item public comment, the white card. So
You didn't read Austin Bocce League, sir.
it's sir.
What?
I told you, you had the white card and you had the yellow card. So if you didn't know what you wrote on it,
You need to
Then
announce
that's
it
all.
to the room and to the internet.
I'm stating your name on
Can
there,
you
so
say you made a mistake and admit you're sorry?
there's no mistake on there.
There's no mistake?
So you have
my God.
now.
This is
For
good.
the
I hope
yellow
this is
card.
being taped because I wish I'd brought my camera actually. And you know I'm a friend of yours and I like you.
That's fine.
But you guys need to learn the difference between the white card and the yellow card and why there's a line on there that says
That's enough
organization.
now.
Pardon
Okay,
me?
So now you have the yellow card if you want to continue on. All right.
I have 2 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, this is good because I have a lawsuit in right now about this exact stuff about you stealing the time from the Austin Bocce League. And I told them it's a $7,000 lawsuit, but I told them every time I'm denied speaking, I'm going to add $1,000 to that. Now, I don't know if the judge is going to go for that or not, but I'm going to do a motion. They have about 10 days to decide whether they're going to fight it or not. They've been served, and it includes the mayor pro tem, and 2 other people, the city manager, the attorneys. They're going to be called to testify, or else they're just going to pay the money. But I'm going to add $1,000 for what you did just now.
All right. Public hearing, agenda item number 1. Conduct a public hearing on a rezoning application for the Monarch Ranch subdivision being 134.53 acres, more or less, and located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Great Lane and FM 973, Manor, Texas, from a planned unit development to planned unit development. The background.
Sure. So this PUD, it was originally approved in January of 2022, and then was first amended in December of 2022, and that was because the city had, approved our new comprehensive plan, and there were some realignments in our thoroughfare plan, and so the PUD was updated to accommodate the new thoroughfare plan. This amendment is related to the dwelling unit size, and that is the only proposed change. So they followed our SF2 standards, which had 1,700 square feet, and we go off conditioned space, so your heated and cooled area, so that doesn't include your garage, and if you had, porch patio, all that. And so what they're looking to amend is to reduce that to 1,300 square feet, but the table is there. It provides a range of dwelling unit sizes and maximum percentages. So the total within the PUD for the homes is 400 homes, and so the PUD allows for dwelling unit sizes from 13 to 1,400 square feet, 1,400 to 1,500, 1,500 to 1,600, 1,600 to 1,700, and then 1,700 plus. And everything under 1,700 is maxed at 20%, which would represent 80 homes. And so this does provide a variety of housing sizes. but it also helps to achieve, the required elevation differentiation that we require in architectural detailing. So single story, 2-story, and different architectural detailing. And so having a range of home sizes also provides a different level of product types. And so that would be there. And so then additional on top of that would be, their garages, which are typically 350, 380 to 400 square feet on top of this. So these ranges here are just their conditioned space. So the smallest home would be 1,300 square feet of heated and cooled area, but then you're going to have a 400 square foot garage. You have to have a 100 square foot covered or uncovered rear patio. So the homes will still be larger, but the conditioned space is a little smaller to provide that flexibility in design, but also introduce a little bit more affordability potentially. Concurrent with this, the City Council is also considering a second amendment to their development agreement. So I provided that for contextual background too. The Monarch Ranch subdivision, through their development agreement, is required to have 30% front masonry on all their homes. But through this amendment, in the development agreement, the smaller the homes get, the more masonry would be on their front facade, which is something that is actually in our zoning code right now, that if you're outside the historic district, within the historic district, we can regulate masonry under state law, but outside the historic district, we can't regulate those building materials. And so we have to do that through development agreements. And one way we've done that is in our zoning code. We say if you want to reduce your dwelling unit size, for every 100 square feet you reduce it, you have to have 10% masonry on your structure. And so what's proposed within the development agreement follows that general provision within our zoning code. And so for each 100 square foot less the home is, the masonry goes up 10%. So you can see there in your backup, a 1,700 square foot home is that 30%, which is what's already, within the PUD, within the development agreement. But as the units get smaller, the masonry goes up to 40%, 50%, 60%, and ultimately to 70%. It is only on the front facade, so it isn't overall, but it kind of increases some of that architectural requirement as the units get smaller. But again, what's before you on the PUD tonight is just modifying the dwelling unit sizes from just a base minimum of 1,700 to a range of from 1,300 and up.
All right, thank you for that. Let's see, we have a couple of individuals here for the public hearing item number 1. Do not wish to speak on that. And then we have Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you. My name's Robert Bataille. Actually, well, I guess we'll pronounce it that way for a while longer. Can I see a real extreme close-up? I want to look at the parkland, and I want to find out what the in-lieu parkland fees are. Once upon a time, I thought these people should give us $120,000 of in-lieu park fees. And then I think Scott Dunlap decided to try to say that some of this open space was part of parkland, one word parkland. There's a difference between the one word parkland and the two words parkland. There's next to no parkland here. And I'm sorry, I can't see it that far away, and I guess I don't have the wireless mic. But if you don't mind telling me how much parkland is currently in the design and how much in lieu fees are they going to pay? Making a trail / sidewalk contiguous does not make it a park. Parkland is where people can play things. Open space can be, a retaining ditch, pond, it's not park. Parkland is where you put like soccer fields. I want the park on the front. And also, by the way, we can tell them where we want the park and whether or not we want the park land or money. I think it's $550 per dwelling unit. Or 1 acre used to be per 60 dwelling units. The thing is, we're never going to get any parkland because all these developers would rather have the money than give the parkland. This is going to be an increasingly horrible problem. as we start infilling. And by the way, I counted all the developments right now. We're over 100,000 people here right now. In terms of all the developments times 3.2 people times whatever units, we're over 100,000. So you may see a sign that says 16,000, 18,000. And by the way, 90% of our people don't even know what an ETJ is. So why don't we stop using that phrase and start calling it Greater Manor? Then people might know what we're talking about. Is that my bell?
All right. Yep, that's your time.
Thank you. Or also, I do get some answers, don't I? That's the public hearing part, is you get the answer. No, public hearing is supposed to be a back and forth. You bring the developer up, you ask them the question. That's what a hearing is.
All right, thanks.
Well, you guys need to learn that.
All right, Commissioners, you have anything? All right. So from the comments earlier, you have representatives from the applicant who come up. Need to ask about how much space for the parks that we have. You can introduce yourself.
Mr. Chairman, Mark Baker with SEC Planning, with the applicant here with Blackburn Communities as well. Like Scott mentioned, the only change that's being made to this already approved PUD is dealing with the home size. And so the parkland requirement has not changed at all. And from the original approved PUD, there was a requirement of 6.1 acres, and the project was providing 22.9 acres. And the PUD also outlined specific criteria of public amenities that would have to be provided in that parkland that included half a mile of trails, playgrounds, public parking area, dog park, and a picnic pavilion. So there were amenities that are outlined that are open to the public within, and then there's also a private swimming pool for the residents only.
Yeah. And
I-
that's, go ahead.
I had a separate question.
Go ahead.
And this is maybe partially to some of my fellow commissioners and what this alignment is in with to the comprehensive plan, because I know we had a workshop previously where we discussed like home affordability, and obviously smaller dwelling sizes still allow for more home affordability. But I thought the way within the comprehensive plan to achieve that was to focus on smaller lot sizes and not decreasing the size of the home itself, which may lead to deterioration down the line, falling home prices for the area. If we open the floor for developers to build smaller homes. And I just want to know other commissioners' thoughts on the alignment with our comprehensive plan.
So at least with the sizing, try to get to your question there. I think it's really incumbent to understand what the pricing scale that you're trying to achieve with these varying square footage on the dwelling spaces. I think from the background discussion point, it was that the footprint necessarily doesn't change overall, but it's the dwelling space of it. So you still have a 400 square foot garage or something that you said, and canopy or stuff like that. So trying to just get to the root of that question. Is it a concern on the pricing scale in front, or is it a concern on 20 years down the line just having a 1,300 square foot home. Who's gonna, move into it or something? Um,
That's a big part of the concern. And yeah, I'd say the second part is the larger portion of the concern. But I think that is a really good question on the pricing front, because I think that's the biggest point. Are developers going to build smaller homes, and then they're just going to sell for more? Because as we know, even 10 years ago, a lot of homes were a lot bigger, and then now people are paying more for less. So are we agreeing to lower our standards with regards to square footage allotted within the home, and then the price once everything is built and Maynard's more developed is still $400,000? That would be an additional concern, because then, well, yeah, that would be an additional concern.
Well, and for clarity too, the lot sizes within the community are not changing. It's just the size of the home on the lot. And like Scott described, when we originally did this, we thought we were within the parameters of the code because we had 1,700-foot minimum homes. It's when we got into the debate of whether the garage counts against that or not, that's when we kind of came up against this amendment. And so now to do that, the smallest version of that home, like Scott said, the masonry requirement on the front goes up. And most likely there's not somebody that's going to do a 70% front masonry and have it probably architecturally look right. So at the end of the day, it's probably going to end up full masonry on the front. So you're smaller, I guess, square footage of livable space, but the material requirement on it is actually going to be increased. But the goal is, I heard somebody say the other day, we talk about affordability in Austin's, in all the suburbs around Austin, and the housing crisis that we have, and the pricing that is so hard for people to get into now. They stopped calling it affordability, started calling it attainability. So there's a method to trying to get a variety of price points within a community that helps provide variety and helps people be able to get into a single family home. So that is part of the component. The masonry requirements help to keep the quality up, so the longevity and the quality of the development and the quality of the home is not diminished. But that smaller size is less square footage that you're constructing conditioned space. So in theory, that allows you to bring that price point down to make it more attainable for folks.
And so what's that target square footage cost? Let's say on the 1,300 square foot.
Yeah, Rick, can you speak to what you think that would be? 130 a foot. That's $130 a square foot.
Yeah. Yes.
Not
So
We were about 200.
introduce yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Rick Hanna. I'm with the Blackburn Group. We're the developer on the project.
Okay.
So the point of doing this, as Mark had said, we felt like we were with the product line that we had designed, felt like we were complying with the PUD. And when the question came up about the dwelling unit space, being conditioned only, that's where we realized that we would need to do the amendment. What we're trying to offer is a wider variety of product for people to select from. We're not going to go out and build all 1,300 square foot homes, but we want to have home buyers have the opportunity to kind of tailor that as much as possible. And I think Scott had mentioned too, there's within the development code, there's already a structure in place to drop it below 1,700 foot by increasing the masonry percentage by 10% for every 100 square foot that you take off. So again, it's having the flexibility to be able to provide a varied product and allow people the ability to move into a subdivision where there's diversity, there's a variety of product. So it's going to really be driven by the buyers as to what size home they're gonna wanna build on one lot.
And that is capped in this table that's been added as well. So we couldn't go build
Below,
on
we couldn't,
smaller.
yeah,
So-
we couldn't drop below 1,300 feet.
yeah, it's a 20% max of units
Of
could
that.
be that.
Mr. Baker, I'm Jeff Stenzel, by the way. Welcome to the commission. For me, I wanted to ask, do you anticipate impervious cover reducing as if this PUD amendment is approved because of the smaller lot sizes? Are you still going to see impervious cover of about the same? You just wouldn't have as many 2 stories, for instance. You chop off the second floor.
I think it'll probably be pretty close to the same.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
like I mentioned before, we
Negligible.
thought we were in that 1,700 before that we got into this condition.
And then you had to add the garage.
Yeah.
And are all of them going to have two? Are the
All-
1300s going to be 2-car? Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
And they're all and I saw they're all front loaded and they're all minimum 50
They're all
foot.
front loaded, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
And also too, in addition to that, this also states that corner lots or lots that are backing up to collectors, it's not just the front facade, it would be the sides and the rear that have to comply as well, where you're
Mhm.
either on a corner lot or you back up to the collector road.
Okay, thank you.
For the masonry.
Correct.
One more question, Mr. Dunlop. This is just for, I guess, for my reference point. On the back here of is it ties into Greg Lane on that on the right of way that they're creating? Is that going to intersect directly with other parcels, or is that gonna just dead end?
Yes, it will. So there on Greg Lane, that'll intersect with what the New Haven development that's on the north side is going to connect to, which is going to be, I think it's Ventura Arbor, because they, on the 973 side, that intersects with
Tina
Tina Harrow, so that'll be a 4-way. So they take Tina Harrow through their development up to Greg Lane there, and then you go across, and that becomes, I think, Ventura Arbor, which goes through New Haven, and then across the school, and then it goes into Mustang Valley, and they take it pretty much up to Anderson. There's some issues with tie-in there, but that's unrelated to this project.
Sorry, not to nerd out. I appreciate connected transportation networks. So that was my
We're
random
seeing
side
that
note.
one
We're not
more
going to
and more about
relitigate your PUD, but yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? How many bedrooms fit into 1,300 square feet? Do you guys have plans already?
3-bedroom, 2 baths will be fit within a 1,300 square foot home. Yeah. Again, there, we may do a one-off if somebody were to want a 2, but most people are going to want that additional bedroom. So, but again, this is really to be able to offer the buyers, as much variety as possible.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we end the public hearing.
Second.
All right. It's properly motioned and second. Motion by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Neela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. All right. Agenda item number 2, conduct a public hearing on the rezoning application for 1 lot, 0.31 acres, more or less, and being located near the intersection of Great Manor Road and West Eggleston Street, Manor, Texas, from C1 light commercial to multifamily 25 MF-2. Background.
So this development, it's under construction right now. It's it's not under construction. I'm getting there. The one across the street is, I apologize. So if you know the new apartments that are under construction there behind Riata, this is adjacent to that. So this project has been in the works for a little while. When it was originally zoned, they retained a portion as C1 light commercial at the intersection. And through the development process, the number of parking spaces that were required for the multifamily couldn't be all accommodated on the property with the layout that they were proposing. And so through the development agreement that was approved by the city council, they got a shared parking agreement. And so you can see it there on the layout that they have. This hasn't been approved just yet, but you know, they put all that parking there on the commercial lot, and it was going to be shared with a proposed daycare. As the daycare came in, they did not need as much space. They didn't need the whole commercial lot, and so they worked with the multifamily developer to essentially sell back, or you know, get back a portion of it, this 0.3 acres, back into the multifamily. And in doing so, the multifamily developer is then able to take their required parking and put it into that spot. So then there isn't a shared parking that's necessary anymore. All of the required parking for the multifamily will be on their property, and the daycare will have everything they need on their property. And so, but to do that, there just needs to be this amendment, or this rezoning to change this about 0.3 acres from C1 to MF2. And then they'll file an amended plat, which is an administrative process to move their property boundary, so that way it's all the property boundaries aligned with the zoning should it be approved. If you have any questions for me, happy to answer them, and there's a representative here too.
All right, thank you. All right, have a speaker. All right, Mr. Robert Patai.
Do I get 3 minutes or 2?
2 minutes.
Okay, this is unfortunately why this comprehensive plan needs to be thrown in the pile of history and set on fire. They've been using these dashboards to pretend that we want all this. This is a historic district. It's been in our codes since 2017. There's nothing historic about these bunch of townhome / apartment / bunch of boxes. You know, by rezoning it, you destroyed this house here. This was from 1893. That was the postmaster. It got destroyed. That was a restoration. That could have been moved over to this area. We do not want any apartments over there by the homestead. That's James B. Maynor's homestead. Sam Houston was a frequent guest there. Sam Houston and James Maynor came west from Tennessee in 1832. That needs to be a little history area over in there. We don't want, that's 1,500 people is what they want crammed into that space by the Lions Club and on up a little north. 1,500 people with like 2 exits? This is the worst thing you guys have ever come up with. And since nobody in town can say they're sorry and back out of it, this is the dashboards. This is total BS. They think single family homes is 1 star, and then we got these other boxes and they're 5-star. Mixed use urban neighborhood. They still think this is a commercial corridor. What planet are these people on? History is the only unique, interesting thing Maynor has. And when we lose it, it's gone. The barbershop was the most cool, soulful building we had in town, and you erased it with this ugly box right over there. That 3-story box, there's nothing historic about that whatsoever. And it's a historic district. You should not let it be zoned anything other than neighborhood business, basically, or single family. We should go back to the tiny home neighborhood is what this needs to be. That's like what James Maynor laid it out as. It's the tiny homes, very trendy, very popular, very affordable for beginner families, for seniors. All of this, all of Old Maynor, that was given by James Maynor, and we're supposed to protect it. And all you guys want to do is destroy it and turn it into freaking 6th Street, Austin.
All right, thank you. All right, commissioners, any questions? Comments?
I move that we close the public hearing.
I second.
All right, it's been moved to close public hearing by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner O'Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it's passed. All right. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the Planning and Zoning Commission and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless requested by the chairperson or commission member, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. All right, number 3, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the minutes for the June 12th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting session. All right, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve agenda item 3 for the summary of July 10th meeting. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I move that we approve agenda item number 3.
I second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Nealon, second by Commissioner Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, hearing none. Item is passed. Regular agenda. Number 4, consideration, discussion, and possible action for a rezoning application for the Monarch Ranch subdivision, being 134.53 acres, more or less, and located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Great Lane and FM 973, Maynard, Texas, from Planned Unit Development to Planned Unit Development. Scott?
Sure. So this is the one again where they're reducing the home size to a range from 1,300 to 1,700, and they are limited to 20% within each 100 square foot range up until they get to 1,700, at which point those are not limited. If you can modify those percentages. I mean, if you felt that, because there's 400 homes within the whole thing, and so 20% is 80 homes each, and so you can do like 80, 80, 80, 80. If, as Commissioner Orion, you're saying, if maybe 1,300 was too small, maybe you say it's okay, 15% of that and 25% here instead. Like, and what's before you is negotiable, is able to be. You can make that recommendation to City Council. So, again, but that is the only change within this PUD. Their concept plan and preliminary plat are already approved, and so there's sort of vesting there related to lot sizes, street layouts, parkland, and all that. So this is just amending the building size and with that development agreement for the City Council to consider those architectural requirements.
All right, thank you for that. I have a question to the applicant. What's the largest square foot home you have in that portfolio?
I believe we have a 3,200 square foot home, so we've got a pretty wide variety. The larger would be the 2 stories, but I believe that that our current product line, that's correct. It's in the 3,000, 3,100 range, something like that.
Condition
but
space?
I'm sorry.
Condition space?
Well, total space, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that got us. That's why we're here in the first place. Sorry about that.
At this also, I know that the 1,700 square foot space was put in place, you know, for a reason, and that I do see that maximum percentage of 20% would be allocated to 1,300 square feet. But looking at the numbers, it also equally would mean that they are actually only required to build 20% of their homes over what we would consider today our minimum 1,700 square feet. Because although 1,300 square feet is 20%, 1,400 square feet is 20%, when you add them all up, 80% of the homes in that neighborhood can be under 1,700 square feet. I don't know. I know this is a discretionary item, but so I don't know if there's a way that we could reallocate some of those percentages because to allow for there to be some distribution of square footages to give people that optionality, but also hold in place that the goal would be what our current is currently like in place by our ordinances, not the fallback, which 20% would be a very small percentage of the neighborhood meeting that requirement.
All right, so on that piece, let me kind of pick your brain on that. Are we looking for obtainability and affordability? Where are we leaning to on this? You know, more on a kind of smaller conditioned space to have more economic value. You know, kind of less barrier to entry in those, or like what's the thought process on that piece from your perspective?
One, longevity, and two, in falling back to what we had discussed in our previous workshops of that instead of creating smaller housing spaces, we focus on plot size, and that the owners shouldn't fall on the city because the development company made a mistake and didn't realize that our ordinance required it to be air conditioning space, but because they made that mistake, then we have to then lower our standards. But really longevity is the biggest one piece, and then in affordability, I honestly question whether these homes will be more affordable or they'll just be smaller in the same price. Because if we look at the neighborhood that was just being built down in Elgin, that the minimum home size was 900 square feet, I was actually looking there to buy my first home before I chose to like buy in Manor. And those homes that were 900 square feet to max 1760, because that was like the models I was looking at, were actually going for 350 plus. Like, and then the market crashed and now we're going for much less. So I actually question whether they're going to be selling because I did the math, and at that price point, a 1,300 square foot home would be $169,000. But I really doubt that they're going to be on the market for $169,000. And they're not promising us that they're selling at any particular price. So I actually doubt whether it will actually lead to any greater affordability, and affordability will be driven by like the market prices at the time. So we're just allowing smaller air conditioning space and the longevity of like having all these homes that are now built much smaller for families. Like we're trying to resell a 2-bedroom, like they said, oh, they'd be okay with if someone wanted a 2-bedroom home. But now we have a neighborhood that's 80% 2-bedroom homes, and versus that aren't. I don't know if I believe that they will be more attainable and more affordable. That's the thought process.
All right.
I don't know. But I do want to hear everyone else's thoughts on this, because I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but I do think 80% of the neighborhood being under our current minimum requirement is a large percentage, versus maybe 30% of the neighborhood can be under our minimum, and then those 30% of homes can be like try to sell more affordably, and 70% of homes meeting the minimum build requirement.
What if the maximum percentage was 10% for each of those categories? That would limit the neighborhood to 40%.
I think that's
before that though, I want to get your response on
The
on
affordability side?
Yes, definitely
It's-
on this
square
cost and
square
everything.
footage is absolutely tied to affordability. There's no question. Every one of our products, the larger they are, the more expensive they are. Now, if you have a large single story versus a similarly sized 2-story, cost can be there can be some variance there, but typically price follows square footage. So larger square footage homes are going to be at a higher price. And that and again, what we're trying to do is offer uh, a variety of product that meets a variety of price points for a diverse community, and that's what we're trying to provide. Again, I think that the home buyers are going to be the ones that again are going to dictate, you know, what floor plan they like, what size, the number of, the overall square footage, whether it's a corner lot or not. I mean, those are all things that will be chosen by the buyer.
Mhm.
So, and again, I thought, again, we're following uh, the development code as far as the allowable deduction in square footage by increasing the exterior masonry percentages. So what we're proposing is not a new concept. It's following your development code. So that's what we're asking for.
I know that this could change as the market changes, but upon approval, if this PUD is well, this PUD is already approved and
Correct.
as dictated previously on its superiority standards. What is the planned build out forecast for this right now? Are we talking
Right
25?
now there will be 3 phases. The current phase is 134 lots. The total number of lots is 385.
Mm-hmm.
And it's each phase will be similar in size. And again, that'll be something that, as the velocity is going to dictate when the next phases come online.
And you're already moving dirt over there already.
Oh,
I've seen.
absolutely. Yeah, we're placing base in the roads right now.
Yep. All right, thank you.
So are these percentages spread out across all the phases of like?
Yeah, the
It is.
the PUD amendment is for the entire development.
But there will be.
Well,
yes,
I'm talking
he's
about
wondering is-
from like the different phases that you have the build out, right? So if you already got your 10% in the phase one, then we're not, then it won't be any more.
Yeah, I think that's going to be market driven.
So it is a possibility there, right?
like, would
The
you,
way it's
is there a possibility to have clustering? I think is what we're trying to get at. Or would this be? Is the
Oh, yeah,
anticipation to have these spreads? You have all
Absolutely,
types of
absolutely.
homes.
Yeah, we're now again there was I can't remember the percentages 50s versus 60s, but we had 20%, 60s. Yeah, so we had 20% minimum that would be on 60-foot lots, and those would lend themselves towards the larger homes.
Yeah.
The 80% of the 50-foot lots would be, and again, they're not all completely grouped together. There's a variety of 50s and 60s in each phase.
You gonna say something?
yeah, so kind of your earlier question. The PUD doesn't restrict kind of where these houses may go in phases. So yeah, there could be the possibility that the 13 to 1400s ended up in phase one, and then they couldn't build them in phase 2 or 3. But it seems like they would want to spread them out. But there isn't a limitation in the PUD amendment right now that would say but within phase one you can't exceed 33% of your allowable within each phase or something along those lines.
Yeah, but again, the way it was phased was so that there would be proportionate numbers in each phase.
Are your lots all capable of placing a 3,100 square foot house on it?
Well, again, I think the larger lots are going to be more, would allow for a bigger footprint. So,
But it
and
could,
again,
right?
again, we do lot fits for each lot. Okay, at the time that they're sold, so we have to make sure that we maintain all the correct setbacks, front setbacks, side setbacks, rear setbacks, and if it will fit in within the box, then and it would be allowed by code.
So what percentage of your lots would conceivably be reasonably large enough to
Well, I
support that
think that
house?
the 20% of 60-foot lots would certainly handle, I would think, the majority of them. Now, we're going to have some that are there's some lots just as going through the process of laying out, you're going to have some that are going to be slightly bigger. Those are the minimum sizes. So if it's a 60, it may actually be a 63, depending on where it fell in the line of homes. So again, we have to maintain the setbacks that are required by code, though.
So as in the general statement, it's kind of split out between like 50-foot lots and 60-foot lots.
Yes, sir.
For the most part.
Yes,
And
sir.
so maybe to kind of, piggyback on that, like how many of those 400 lots or 60-foot lots are plus? Like what
You have
percentage
the
that
lotting
is?
plan. I could pull it up on my computer. I could tell you by phase exactly how many 50s and 60s are in each one. If you give me a second, I can pull that up.
All right.
Yeah, 77 would be the 20% of our.
Was that kind of where you were going with that question, Commissioner Meyer? Is that where you were kind of going with that? Yeah.
And just for clarification, based on the PUD, current PUD is written, at least 77 of your lots will be 60 feet or wider. So
That's correct.
25% would be, so about 1 in 4 would be a wide lot by most of the city standards.
That's right.
There are other PUDs in the city that are 50, 55s, and 60s, but 60s are usually, for you to be building a 60 without a 3-car garage is kind of a rarity, would you say?
Yeah, that's 3-car on a 60 is probably pushing the envelope a little bit.
But just for comparison's sake, that's what you're seeing on a lot of the 60s in the city right now are the larger, wider, because you can accommodate a wide home. So that is that correct, Scott? Mr.
We
Dillon?
don't have too terribly many
That's what I
60s. Everything's like usually 50s. So our base code, so if you're not generally within a PUD, SF2 is a minimum 60-foot wide lot. SF1 is 70 feet. And so that's why we get a lot of PUDs, because the market and generally people want the 50s. And so when you have more than 25 acres, you're able to do a PUD. And then we often see this 80-20 split between 50s and 60s. But pretty much all of our subdivisions are 50s. The newer ones have the 60s in it. The older ones have 40s, so like 40s and 50s.
Yeah. So our current lotting plan has 74.8% 50-foot lots and 25.2% 60-foot lots. And then by phase, phase 1 has 98 50s and 36 60s. Phase 2 has 109 50s and 20 60s. And phase 3 has 81 81 50s and 41 60s.
All right, thank you for that.
Mhm.
I know we've been talking about like plot size for a minute. Is there but this PUD change is mainly focused on like the dwelling unit size. So sticking to that for a second, I know Commissioner Meyer had previously suggested a maximum percentage, dropping it down to 10%, which would still allow for a variety of homes and allow for that affordability piece without really making the greater majority of the homes in the neighborhood fall below our current regulation standards. I don't know what our other commissioners' thoughts are on his original proposal.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, if we drop this down to 10%, you're adding more spaces to the that are going to be 1,700 square feet or higher, which will then fundamentally change the amount of 60 foot
No, it's not going
lots.
to change the lot sizes at all. But again, I think that the market's going to dictate. Again, in a perfect world for us, the homes are going to be 1,700 square foot or larger. But again, bearing in mind the attainability and the affordability, to be able to offer a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, in a nice neighborhood, brand new homes is something that we feel it's important to be able to offer. And I think that overall, the purpose of the DA was so that the city would have some input in the architectural controls, and we would gain some additional expedited reviews and things of that nature. So it's a two-way street having a DA in place. What we're proposing is following the current development code and the concept of decreasing square footage by increasing the masonry percentages on the outside. Yeah, I don't think anybody's goal here is to go in there and put in 20% 1,300 square foot homes. That's not the goal here. But we want to be able to offer a variety of product that has a variety of price points so that you have a diverse community.
And I don't know.
I was just to say I appreciate kind of the context on for the context on this. I remember, and I sat in Austin City Hall a lot covering land development projects, but that's just my personal experience. And one of the things that they've always said, or that they said several years ago, is we want all types of homes for all types of people in all parts of town. And I think talking about the range, I know that the 3,200 is kind of the shiny object that we heard here a little bit ago, but having a range of 2,000 square feet of livable space or conditioned space to, well, sorry, I'm going to take out the 400 square foot garage. 2,900 square feet to 1,300 square feet provides a diversity of housing options for people in an area that is still really close to that is fast growing and fastly becoming more expensive. I think I don't forget that the people that live behind me paid half as much for their home 2 years before I moved into their backyard. And so that comes to, I moved here 2 years ago last month or this week, from Austin. But I think that's kind of what you're getting at
Mhm.
in this PUD amendment is we got condition space was kind of a little asterisk here for us.
Correct.
And we're trying to make sure that we still meet the spirit of our development goals for this project.
Could not have said it more perfectly myself. I mean, again, following the spirit of what's in the development code and using the same criteria to get us to a point where we have some flexibility on what we offer.
And Scott already knows from my chat with him last week, I would love to chop the lot sizes in half and make cottage courts, but we're not going to do that next to a creek on clay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially in a PUD that's already approved. And you're already moving forward on it. But does that make I understand kind of the spirit of where you guys are going with this. So that's where I'm in alignment and approval of the request.
Very good.
I don't know. Is there any other comments? I was gonna make a motion. If that's okay. I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 4 with the recommendation that we drop the maximum percentages for 1,300 to 1,400 square feet, 14 to 15, 15 to 16, and 16 to 17 to 10%.
I'll second.
All right. It is properly moved by Commissioner Ryan, second by Commissioner Meyer. Any question on that motion? So the motion is to approve with a modification for the maximum percentage to be 10% from 1,300 to 1,400 square feet, 10% 1,401 to 1,500 square feet, 10% to 1,501 to 1,600 square feet, and 10% to 1,601 to 1,700 square feet, which then would be 60% for 1,701 plus square feet. Correct?
Yeah, so it still allows for a diversity of housing choices while not allotting the majority of the neighborhood to be under our current minimums.
All right. Any other question on that motion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Oppose.
Opposed. All right. So,
Could I make
hold on. Need the names, Commissioner Neela, Commissioner Stensland, and Vice Chair Chavis. Okay. You gonna say something?
Do you mind if I entertain a motion? I
Yes.
move approval of item 4 with reducing the maximum percentages for the categories 13 to 14, 14 to 15 to 15%, remaining the maximum percentage for 1,501 to 1,600 and 1,601 to 1,700 at 20% for those respective categories, and unlimited for the category of 1,701 square feet and above.
All right. So restate that motion. You have 15%.
15% for the first two categories. So 1,300 to 1,500 square feet. Those two subcategories per 100 square feet would be 1,500%. 15% max
Okay.
for that product. That would be about 65 homes or 60-ish. And then 1,501 square feet to 1,600 remains at 20. 1,601 to 1,700 square feet remains at 20. And 1,701 plus remains unlimited.
Or 30. All right. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Stensland, second by Commissioner Neela for the approval modifications. So the first two dwelling unit categories, between 1,300 and 1,500 square feet, maximum percentage would be 15, respectively. So, so that would be 30 together, and then between 1,501 and 1,700 would be 20 respectively. No change to those.
Essentially, this makes half the development, up to half the development at 1,600 square feet or larger, which still provides a lot of ample space for growing families, but also still provides opportunities for people to find a home at those smaller scales, and still responsibly use that lot.
All right. All right, any questions on that motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
All right. So motion passes. We have one opposition, Commissioner O'Ryan. All right, agenda item number 5. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a rezoning application for one lot on 0.31 acres, more or less, being located near the intersection of Great Maynard Road and West Edwardson Street, Maynard, Texas, from C1 light commercial to multifamily 25 MF-2. Scott?
Sure. So this was where the proposed apartments are, and how they had retained a portion for light commercial, and as that property was purchased for daycare, they did not end up needing as much space, and there was that shared parking agreement, which allowed up to 40 spaces to be shared between the two. I think I put it in here somewhere, 29 spaces were actually only what was planned to be constructed. But with the proposed daycare not needing as much land, the multifamily developer was going to acquire those 0.3 acres back and then use that area for their parking, so they no longer need the shared parking. And yes, so if you have any questions, again, the representative is here, and staff is recommending approval.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 5.
I second.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Agenda item number 5 from Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Ryan. Any questions on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Thanks. Agenda item number 6. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a subdivision construction variance for the New Haven subdivision from Maynard Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Exhibit A, Article 3, Section 42B1, to permit a modified street pavement detail and be located at the northeast intersection of FM 973 and Greg Lane, Maynard, Texas.
Sure. So the applicant is requesting a postponement to the August 14th Planning Commission meeting, so our next meeting. The developer who would have been in attendance, they were here at the last meeting, they're out of Houston, so they were having difficulties with the hurricane that just went through, and so they weren't able to make it. So they wanted to be here, but without being able to make it, they asked for the postponement to August.
All right. Make a motion for postponement.
Motion to postpone.
So can you, to date certain to August 14th, please?
To August 14th.
I second.
All right. All right, motion is to postpone agenda item number 6 to the August 14th, 2024 regular meeting. Moved by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Stinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, agenda item number 7, consideration, discussion, and possible action on the final plat for the town place at Hampton Addition subdivision, 3 lots on 5.964 acres, more or less, being located near the intersection of Great Manor Road and Hill Lane, Manor, Texas. Scott?
Sure. Very good. We're together here. So this plat, it has been approved by our engineers, and so we are recommending approval as a non-discretionary item. It is right at the corner there of Hill Lane and Greg Manor, right next to Baylor Scott and White and the senior high school. There are plans in right now for a town place as well as a Hampton to construct those 2 hotels, and then there's a 3rd lot that they would put a future hotel on at some, if the market's good and everything works out for them. But again, yeah, this is just the plat to create those lots. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
No questions? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll move that we approve this item.
I'll second.
All right. Agenda item number 7 has been moved by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Neela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, hearing none. Motion is passed. Good. It is 7:52 p.m. and we're now adjourned. Hmm?